Hello everybody, how's it going? Welcome to my channel and welcome to a sort of a updatey and different episode here. As you can see, I'm playing the nurse. This is a pre-recorded episode because I just had this recording of a pretty decent game as a nurse. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you are curious to see me play as the killer. And I thought that I could use this old video that I had in my archive and take a moment to talk to you guys about what's happened. And you know, if you've been following me on my Twitter or if you've joined my Discord, the link to both of them are on my channel page in the top right below the banner. My grandma's passed away, and I made an announcement regarding that, and I also said that I would probably not be available for a little while, perhaps, which included about a day and a half. Yesterday I was completely off the grid, and it's been really hard. I just made this video, as you can see. This is not created content. It's pre-recorded video with me just talking over it because I still don't have it necessarily in me to actually record you guys an episode because I'm still grieving, and it would just be forced somewhat with humor or excitement, and I don't want to make fake content with fake emotions and whatnot for you guys. I respect you too much to deliver you non-genuine content. However, it's not necessarily the best way to live, to get drowned in your sorrow and sadness. I'm surprisingly handling everything well. I thought I was going to be out of commission for a few days, but I think yesterday, the past 24 hours, really helped me and taught me about grief and myself, because I had never lost somebody so precious and dear to me, and somebody that I loved so much, like my grandmother. And it's hard, you know. I had never experienced what it feels like to realize that that person is no longer in the world, and it's hard. Well, what I did realize was that I had prepared myself somewhat for the inevitability, because as you guys already also know or knew, she was getting worse and worse, and she was in the hospital, and there's no turning back, you know, for an old person like that with organ failures and things like that. Her heart gave up, and she passed away from heart failure. And I realized that I'm handling it pretty well, but like I said, there are new sort of emotions that I've never had to handle before. Even though I've lost every one of my grandparents, I never knew my grandfather on my dad's side, because he divorced my grandmother on my dad's side when my dad was a kid, and he went on and married another woman, had a bunch of kids, and basically abandoned my father's family. My grandmother on my dad's side, she was really nice, but because of the divorce, my aunt, my dad's sister, she had suffered emotionally, and she went through a lot of depression and things like that, because she was much older than my dad at the time, and that affected my grandmother as well. And basically my family on my dad's side were usually, I wasn't really close to them because of the dynamics that were going on, like I mentioned, and I was very much closer to my mom's parents than my dad's. In fact, we live upstairs in a two-story building. We lived upstairs above my grandmother. My grandfather, also on my mother's side, passed away when I was about 4 or 5, and all I remember of him are a couple of flash memories and maybe 2 seconds of like video memories. And I was very, very, very close to my grandmother on my mom's side, because my mother, she was a Italian literature professor at the university, and oftentimes she wouldn't be home, and my dad was also, he's an architect, and he would be out, you know, working and stuff, and I spent a lot of time with my grandmother. I did so many things with her, and she made me feel so funny and smart and creative, and I used to write a lot of short stories and little novelettes, and she would always listen, she would always read them, she would always give me feedback and things like that. She made the best foods in the world, you know. But anyway, not to get too emotional, because if I talk about her too much as a person, I will start crying. And that's another thing that I've noticed, is that these feelings that I feel, they come to me in waves. So there are moments in the day that I feel fine, and then all of a sudden I break down and I start crying, like uncontrollably. Just like a thought of her, or some memory of her, or something. I'm probably going to need a couple of more days to get back to normal. Then more likely than not, I should say, aka most likely, I will also soon leave the country with my sister, just so I can go and attend my grandmother's funeral and help my mother emotionally through what she's going through, and be there for her. And eventually she's going to need to go to my grandmother's house and clear out the place, and I'd like to be there to help her through that as well, physically, to help her out with my grandmother's stuff. And if I am leaving the country, I will try to make a few videos for you guys to periodically go on the channel, so it does not feel abandoned or bare. But I am just letting you know from now that that is a possibility, and I will let you know when it's happening. Again, like I said, if you follow me on Twitter at InkEyes LP, or if you join my Discord, I will have announcements there, and I am available to talk to you guys, and I'll definitely let you know if and when I'm leaving and when I'm coming back, and exactly what the schedule is going to be for the period of time that I will be gone, which I do not believe will be longer than a week, since it could be 2 weeks maximum, like definitely maximum 2 weeks, because my sister can only take off 2 weeks from work. So if we do go, then maximum 2 weeks we need to come back. And I really hope you're also enjoying this game as a nurse. This game was recorded, let me tell you real quick. Let me check the properties of this file. This was recorded on January 23rd, about a week ago. Today is the 29th in the morning. I already have a 3rd perk slot unlocked as a nurse, but that is not reflected in this video because, like I said, this is about from a week ago. But it was still a pretty decent game. As you can see, I managed to, not really camping any hooks or anything, start taking down most of these guys. I was pretty happy with my blinking performance, and surprisingly, I'm much better in every aspect when I play as a nurse. this was a very lucky game, but I thought that it was pretty cool, and I thought that you guys would appreciate it because a whole bunch of you have requested before to see some killer action, and I like the nurse very much so because I find her to be a lot more unique than some of the other killers, especially since she is so slow that she cannot outrun survivors necessarily. Like, you would need a mile to catch up to a survivor running away from you. You're technically forced to have to use your blink for every single takedown unless you have the survivor in a lunging distance, lunge attack distance. But I've come to love her and learn her. And you also need to learn maps better. Like good hiding spots, terrible hiding spots, where people might retreat to, and all the things that happen to other killers in my survivor games. I constantly have to run those scenarios in my head and be like, okay, this generator is going, that sound went off there, where do I need to go? I just chase this guy, but maybe it's a good time to just, you know, drop them and pursue somebody else and things like that. But very fun. I did not think that I would enjoy playing as a killer so much. But I did tire myself one time with about 8 hours of stream as a nurse. I don't think I would want to play 8 hours of killers because of the hide and seek factor that I'm not very patient with. You know, you find yourself running around the map just looking at things and not finding anyone or anything, especially during the last part of the game when you have one survivor left who's very good at hiding. Find yourself running around for 5 minutes just trying to figure out or see a sign of that survivor so you could take them down. But eventually, as you can see, I did, and she made a big mistake. Or did she? And I picked her up, and I took her to the nearest hook, right here, and voila. And that's the end of that. Pretty lovely. There you have it. That was a victory. Hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, we'll be in touch. And I hope you guys are all well. I love you all. Thank you for your persistent support. And I will see you guys in the next video.